You did it! You made it to another video. Good for you, by the way. Obviously, you're getting rich! All these sales you're closing. I'm excited for you. Look, the title of the video, it wasn't hard to decide, truthfully, why some prospects decide instantly while others never buy. Because I think a lot of us have those moments where we're like, what the heck is going on here? So I'm just going to cover the science of certainty. Where do I learn all this stuff? Oh, books. You should probably read a lot of books and watch a lot of sales videos. And I've been doing this since I was 14 years old. I've been doing sales. Actually doing it and learning. Instead of watching sports, I've watched sales seminars from the 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, all the way up to now, right? So one thing that I noticed a lot of, and just working with salespeople all the time, one thing I've noticed is most salespeople think they're in the persuasion business. And actually, it's not true. So let's cover the science of certainty today. Look, I would say a lot of you think you're in the persuasion business. Okay, what does that mean? Most salespeople probably think they're in the objection handling business. What does that mean? Because you're not, right? You're not in either. Most salespeople probably think they're in the closing business. You're not in that either. The greatest salespeople in the world all understand something different, something deeper, something that completely changes how you view every sales conversation that you're ever going to have. Okay? Understand this. There's a darn hair floating. What the heck? One of my hairs flew off my head. But look, understand this. People do not buy when they're convinced. People buy when they become certain. All right, so make sure you write that down. We haven't jumped into the modules yet, but just want to cover that. It's extremely important. People do not buy when they're convinced. People buy when they become certain. Okay? And certainty is one of the most misunderstood concepts in all of sales. So let's go deep into that. Not closing tricks, not objection handling. Let's talk about the hidden force behind every decision that a human being is ever going to make. And it starts with the darn sales calls, okay? Let's write this down. It's going to be module 1, okay? The human brain hates uncertainty. So imagine 100,000 years ago, okay, you're walking through the woods, you hear something move in the bushes, you don't know what it is. Could be a rabbit, could be a lion, right? Heck, could be a dinosaur. But your brain immediately goes into survival mode. Why? Because uncertainty is dangerous. The human brain evolved to avoid uncertainty. Not pain, not failure, but uncertainty. Even today, your brain runs on the same software. Okay, the prospect isn't afraid of buying. The prospect is afraid of uncertainty. Let's write this down. I chose this title for the next module for a reason. It's called This Changes Everything. This changes everything. Nothing will be the same after this, okay? Just think about the last time someone said, I need to think about it, okay? The last time you were on the phone is probably like 10 minutes ago, okay? Hopefully it was 10 minutes ago. Hopefully maybe a couple seconds ago because you're listening to me and making calls like you should be, right? But they said, I need to think about it. Well, what are they actually saying, guys? What are they actually saying? They're saying, I'm uncertain. When someone says, I need to talk to my spouse, they're often thinking and saying, I'm uncertain. When someone says, I need to do more research, what does that actually mean? I'm uncertain. And when someone says, it's not the right time, most of the time, they're still uncertain. So it's not that the objection isn't the problem, it's the uncertainty. Okay? The objection isn't the problem, it is the uncertainty. The objection could be the problem, but it stems from uncertainty. It's never truly what they're saying, it's just they're uncertain about a few different lanes. So what does that mean? Let me tell you. Let's move to the next module. We'll cover it. The biggest sales lie ever taught. The biggest sales lie ever taught. If you ever hear me go and stumble over words, it's because I'm thinking a gazillion things at once. It's called ADHD. I love having it, and it's a superpower. But I get so ahead of myself sometimes. It's crazy. I want to talk about 100 things at once. But I only have one mouth, is what I've learned. I only have one mouth. But look, the biggest sales lie ever taught. The biggest sales lie ever taught. Sales trainers tell people all the time, overcome objections. I've been guilty of it myself in the past until the more I learned, the more I earned, right? So it's not about overcoming objections. Salespeople don't overcome objections, okay? You prevent them. Because objections are symptoms, not causes. Imagine going to the doctor. Okay, you have a fever. The fever isn't the problem. The fever is evidence that a problem exists. Okay, objections work the exact same way. Well, if you get a price objection, it's uncertainty. Timing objection, it's uncertainty. Spouse objection, it's uncertainty. Need to think about it objection, which we all hate. It's the same deal. It's uncertainty. The root cause is almost always the same. It's lack of certainty. Okay? Why some people buy in 10 minutes? Let's figure that out. Because you guys have experienced that, a lot of you, and you're like, wow, that was insane. Okay, so just think about this for a second. When you see someone make a massive decision almost instantly, like a new house, a new vehicle, a new business investment, a new coach, a new career. Meanwhile, another person might take 6 months and still doesn't decide. Well, why? Because decisions aren't made based on information. They're based on certainty. And certainty isn't logical. It's emotional. So let's get into the good stuff. Write this down. The certainty equation. The certainty equation. Hey, every buying decision comes down to one equation. All right? It comes down to one thing. Perceived reward minus perceived risk. Write that down. Perceived reward minus perceived risk. Understand that the greater the reward and the lower the risk, the more certainty exists. The more certainty exists, the faster decisions happen. It's simple. The entire sales process is really the process of increasing certainty. I'll say it again. I'll say it one more time. The entire sales process is really the process of increasing certainty. So the more certainty I can push and increase, the likelihood of my sale going through. My commission's increasing, my profit going up. So the formula, one more time so you don't have to rewind, is perceived reward minus perceived risk. Okay? The greater the reward and the lower the risk. So become a master at that. All right, let's go to the next module here. Why information doesn't create decisions. Why information doesn't create decisions. This is where most salespeople lose. Okay, they believe information creates certainty. Well, it doesn't. All right, if information created certainty, just think about this logically. All right, CPAs would never procrastinate. Doctors would never smoke. Doctors do smoke. Financial advisors would never make bad investments. They do make bad investments. Smart people would never make bad decisions. They do. Information isn't enough. Knowledge doesn't create action. You ever meet a really smart guy, but he makes $50K a year? Like, what the hell's going on here? Well, exactly. Certainty creates action. That's why someone can watch 50 to 500 hours of accounting videos and never start a business. And someone else launches after a weekend seminar. Why? Well, one has a lot of information, but the other one has certainty. Let's talk about the 4 pillars of certainty. These are 4 things that I believe in and I promote heavily because I know that they create certainty. Master these and your sales will change forever. So write the 4 pillars. Do pillar 1, pillar 2, pillar 3, pillar 4. All right, let's knock these out. This is going to change your life forever, I promise you. Listen, the first pillar is certainty in the outcome. Certainty in the outcome. What does that mean? Okay? The prospect must believe this can work. Not for everyone, but for them. This is why case studies matter so much. This is why success stories matter so much. This is why the darn testimonies matter so much. Humans use evidence from other humans to predict future outcomes. The prospect is asking, has someone like me succeeded? When the answer becomes yes, that certainty rises. So you got to tell stories. You can do Feel, Felt, Found. It's been around since like the freaking 50s. Okay? Hey, I was talking to Janet a couple weeks ago. She felt the same way, and after using my services, she found that her business was now leaking this amount and is now saving this amount. I mean, my gosh, it's so easy. Let's go to pillar 2. Certainty. Oh no. But the darn lawnmower starting. The dreaded lawnmower. Well, look. Pillar 2 is certainty in themselves. This is where most salespeople fail, okay? The prospect may believe that the product works, but they don't believe they can do it. That's a huge difference. Think about weight loss. Most people believe diets work. They just don't believe they'll follow them. Okay, the same thing happens in business. The prospect is questioning the program, and they're not questioning the program. Who are they questioning? They're questioning themselves. Okay, if they knew they could be fit, they would already do it. So you have to make them believe in themselves. And it's the same thing with accounting. They're just afraid of their numbers. You have to make them be not afraid of their numbers. Okay? That's really all it comes down to. They don't want to question themselves. They don't need to be afraid. You need to help them step into that and just show them a version of themselves where they don't have problems in their business. That's the most important thing. And the business is growing. So let's go to pillar 3. Certainty in you. People buy people, guys. I can't stress that enough. Trust matters. Your authority matters. Your tone matters. The way you look matters. You hop on a Zoom meeting and you're not in business attire. It's disgusting. Clean all of it up. Competence matters. Your perceived competence matters. Just remember that. I see people all the time. Just think of those lawyers you've seen on TV and they got this Einstein hair. What the heck is that? Who hired them? How'd they get hired? Right? It matters. So your perceived competence matters. The prospect is constantly asking, can this person guide me? And your certainty becomes their certainty. Go watch my last video. I talk about it a lot in there. This is why nervous salespeople struggle. Not because they lack skill, because uncertainty transfers, okay? Just like confidence transfers. Let's go to pillar number 4. Certainty in the certainty in the process. Certainty in the process. Humans love predictability. Okay? The brain relaxes when it sees a path. The brain panics when it sees confusion. That's why roadmaps sell, frameworks sell. Step-by-step systems sell. People don't buy opportunities. They buy pathways. Show them the darn path with how all of your value is going to transform their future to give them their outcome that they desire. My gosh, it can't be any simpler. The certainty transfer. The certainty transfer. That's the next module. Title it, write it down. The certainty transfer. This is the highest level sales concept that most salespeople never learn, is that prospects borrow certainty. Think about a pilot. You board an airplane, you don't inspect the engines, you don't check the fuel, you don't examine the maintenance logs. Why? Because you're borrowing certainty from the pilot. The same thing happens in sales, okay? Prospects borrow certainty from you. If you sound hesitant, they become hesitant. If you sound uncertain, they become uncertain. If you sound convinced, what happens is they become convinced. That certainty transfers. All right, let's title this. This is the best module in this whole video. Why great salespeople ask questions. Title it, underline it, bold it. Why great salespeople ask questions. Most salespeople talk. You think selling's telling, and that's why you suck. That's why your results are terrible. It's no bueno. My perspective is I'm intense, and I'm going to come down your throat because I have to. All right, and I'm going to take your head off in all situations. I got to make sure. And what do I mean by that? You're selling, and I'm calling you out for it. Stop telling. Start asking great questions. Great salespeople diagnose. Salespeople, the best ones, guys, create certainty through discovery questions. Questions create certainty. Statements create resistance. When a prospect explains their own problems, they become certain. When a prospect explains their own goals, they become certain. When a prospect calculates their own opportunity cost, they become certain. The best closers don't force conclusions, okay? They help people discover them. I can't stress that enough. So you need to stop selling and telling. That sucks. That's the worst way to sell in the world. Just information dump all over people. Blah, blah, word vomit. That's so bad. Just ask them great questions and they'll sell themselves, okay? When I'm training my sales reps and it is really difficult to get a person, and I don't even work with you personally. You have to have the discipline to really execute this live when you're running a real sales call. Just refrain from selling and just ask good questions. So the prospect has to sell themselves. That's the easiest way to do sales. It's so easy. Just ask them good questions to make them realize they need to do your accounting services. Right? What happens if we don't change this for another 12 months? What if we don't grow the profit? What if you don't have advisory? Talk to me about that. All these things are so simple to do. Let's title the next module, The Moment the Sale Happens. Sales doesn't happen when the card is run. Sales doesn't happen when the paperwork is signed. Sales happens earlier. Sales happens the moment uncertainty disappears. The payment is simply evidence. The actual sale occurred internally inside the prospect's mind when enough certainty was created. So there's a time in the deal where the prospect decides, this is what I'm going to do. Okay? You have to find that. Their tone and you can feel them lean in, and they'll start asking better questions and those kinds of things. That's what you want to look for. Let's go to the next module. Why people stay stuck for years. Guys, look, the reason that people stay stuck for years is bigger than sales. Okay, people stay in jobs they hate, relationships they hate, business they hate, financial situations they hate, not because they're lazy, but because they're weak, because certainty hasn't exceeded uncertainty. Okay, human beings move when certainty becomes stronger than fear, not before. So look, how do you create certainty on every call? That's the title of this next module. Guys, just ask deeper questions, build more trust, provide more proof, show the darn roadmap, paint the future, remove confusion. It's all about having it simple. Use simple language. Talk like you're talking to a 3-year-old. All right? Don't use all your accounting jargon. They don't understand it at all, or they would do accounting, right? Identity. Okay? Identity. Shift them. Identify their hidden fears. Address risks. Stay calm. Lead them. Because every single thing you're doing is moving one needle. It's not the persuasion, manipulation, and it's not pressure, guys. It's certainty. So the last thing I'd like to leave you with here today is probably the greatest misunderstanding in sales is believing people buy because they're convinced. They don't. People buy because uncertainty finally lost. So that's it. Every objection, every delay, every hesitation, every stalled opportunity, every lost sale, at its core, it's just uncertainty. So the salespeople who understand this and how to create certainty will always outperform the salespeople who simply try to create pressure. Because pressure creates resistance, certainty creates decisions, and decisions create sales. So the best salespeople in the world are not masters of persuasion, they're masters of certainty. Like and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next video.